everyone, Bandy Bono here, and we are actually doing an introduction today. We have finished the treatise on the triune God. If you watched the last video, I mentioned that I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do the introduction for the next part because we have a few short treatises here. Treatises. I don't know what the plural of treatise is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But what I decided to do is kind of lump these three together: treatise on creation, treatise on the angels, and treatise on the work of the 6 days. Obviously the topic of creation is going to extend into man, but these two then seem to be more closely related than these three. It seems like when we get into the treatise on man, we're going to maybe have some to do with creation, but it's going to go beyond that. There's no perfect division here, of course. The treatise on the angels is going to go beyond that as well. It just kind of is what it is. But, I figured we'd take the three short ones in one introduction. So, without further ado, let's just kind of look at how this is going to be organized. So, we are through question 43. The treatise on creation runs from 44 to 49. The angels, the longest of the three that we are looking at here, goes from 50 to 64. The treatise on the work of the 6 days goes from 65 to 74. Let's take a look at the treatise on creation first. Okay, so we have two divisions there. Oops, I did not type the question numbers there. Sorry about that. So the first one, we have two primary divisions: the production of creatures, which is going to go from 44 to 46, and then the distinction of creatures from 47 to 49. And no further breakdown there in the production. But when we get to the distinction of creatures, we have a couple questions that will prove to be pretty interesting, I think, on the distinction of good and evil. The cause of evil. That's something Aquinas has kind of touched on a little bit, and now we'll circle around to it more directly. So I think we've got some interesting stuff on the way there in the treatise on creation. A short one, but hopefully a good one. All right. Next up, from question 50 to 64, the treatise on the angel. So this, you can see, neatly divided into 4 subdivisions. First one on their substance, meaning, of course, the angel's substance. And that goes from question 50 to 53. Their intellect, from 54 to 58. Their will, just 2 questions there, 59 to 60. And then we round it off with their creation in 61 to 64. Their substance, we have kind of one-off question there. We should be used to this kind of language from Aquinas by now. Just substance as a whole considered, and then how does that substance relate to corporeal things? And we've got a few questions in there that we'll take a look at. Then when we get to the intellect, their intellect anyway, we have 3 one-off questions here on, the knowledge of the angels. What do they know? How do they know it? All that sort of stuff. And then we have a couple questions linked together in a further subdivision of the objects of their knowledge. One on immaterial things. How do angels know immaterial things? How do they know material things? Their will, just both questions in there. Obviously, no further subdivision needed. And their creation. We start off with 2 of them, and then, again, a section that I think will prove to be interesting. Not that all the evil stuff is necessarily the most interesting, but it there's definitely introduces some unique problems, of course, into the great question of evil in Christian theology. We have a couple there on how did some of the angels go from being angelic to demonic. So, also, I think will prove to be quite an interesting treatise. There's a couple of longer questions in there, so that one will probably take us a little while to get through. Treatise on creation should be relatively quick. Relatively. I'm not exactly cranking out the videos these days. Summer. Too many other things to do during the summer, but we'll keep them rolling anyway. All right, finally, treatise on the work of the 6 days. So we start with just first question in there. That's question 65 to 74. First one in there, work of creation of corporeal creatures. Then we break down the rest of that treatise into two subdivisions: the work of distinction, 66 to 69, and the work of adornment, 70 to 74. As we'll see, as we, if we further kind of open up the work of distinction to its further subdivision, we'll see that what Aquinas is essentially doing is calling the first, second, and third days of the creation of the Genesis story the work of distinction. And no surprise here, as we get into the work of adornment 4, 5, and 6, and 7, even though that is the rest day, will fall under the heading of the work of adornment. So he has a nice little divide there between days 1 through 3 and days 4 through 6, and also day 7 there. And then we wrap up that treatise with just kind of a, what do they all have in common? Put a nice little bow on it at the end there. All right, so like I said, I think this is going to get a little easier than what we've been doing with God and the Trinity. I mean, those are complicated topics at the best of times. So I think we got some very interesting stuff here, and I will get right on it with the treatise on creation, which I will hopefully have out in the next few days. Until then, that's what we've got coming up. I'm Ben DeBono. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.